Ryan Poles met the media, the Bears updated their coaching list, and many more updates next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube. And also rate the show 5 stars everywhere. Get your podcast. What is good, everybody? We have a lot of Bears updates today. And also, tomorrow night, I think we're going to do our awards show. So I hope to see you out there live on YouTube at around 7:30-ish. So I'll make sure to try and get that out there on YouTube so you can follow it and be there when we give out our awards, which is just for those newbies. It's kind of our recap of what happened last season and just kind of a fun little award show. So our favorite players, most improved, and some other fun awards out there. But that's about it. Let's get this show on the road and let's talk a little bit about what happened today, because a lot happened today. And that's why I'm hoping tomorrow will be a little bit less eventful. But let's start talking about the first big news that was really floated out there, was that the Raiders fire their head coach. And like we said before, we had these 5 teams that had their head coach openings: the Patriots, the Bears, the Jaguars, Saints, and Jets. And everything was good in the world. And then the Raiders must have woke up. Maybe their alarm clock was set late. Something happens. They wake up this morning and say, you know what? We need to fire our head coach. And what do you know? They end up firing their head coach. So now there's a 6th team in the fold. Now, do I think that they're in on Ben Johnson? I don't think so. We haven't heard anything about them being in on Ben Johnson since they just started right now. But this is just another team that needs another head coach. So it does kind of bleed in to the different head coaching searches that the Bears will have. So let's continue talking about our beloved Chicago Bears head coach search like we did yesterday. We talked a little bit about Ben Johnson going to the Bears and what this could how it seemed very, very likely, and it still seems likely as well. So what we know right now with Ben Johnson is Ben Johnson now has gotten a request to interview with the Jaguars. Like we said yesterday, even though he didn't have one, we did kind of expect that he was going to get a potential offer to go over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like we said yesterday as well, Ben Johnson seems to really like that position, that area. But also, at the same time, the way that Shad Khan, the owner over there, is managing things, it makes it so that it feels like the Bears are the favorite. Actually, funny thing, the Bears are the betting favorite right now to land Ben Johnson at about even money. So plus 100, he is the betting favorite to become the next Bears head coach as of today. Second best, Cliff Kingsbury, which I thought was interesting since the Bears have yet to interview him or request an interview from Cliff Kingsbury. Then it goes Aaron Glenn at plus 500, Brian Flores at plus 500. Flores does seem to me like if they can't get Johnson, it does seem like Flores is kind of that number 2. Then Marcus Freeman at plus 700. The Bears have had interest, but I kind of pumped the brakes just because Marcus Freeman just signed this gigantic deal, this gigantic extension with Notre Dame. Also, Mike Vrabel at plus 900, Todd Monken at plus 900, Thomas Brown 1,000, plus 1,200. So yeah, just lots and lots of other people down the road. But all you really need to know, Ben Johnson plus 100. And I'm pulling up some other pieces too. Like we said, Jags are in on Ben Johnson, but also Ben Johnson is scheduled to have some sort of virtual interview because, like we said yesterday, they're not able to do an in-person one during this bye week. So it's going to have to be a virtual interview sometime Thursday through Saturday. So sometime this week, Ben Johnson will be interviewing with the Chicago Bears. So that's just the one piece of news this week or today. But Ryan Poles' interview was really the big thing that ended up happening. Like what we talked about, Ryan Poles is going to be here. Now, how long? How long will Ryan Poles be here? We are not sure, because when asked about this, Ryan Poles simply kind of said, hey, I don't talk about the money. I don't talk about how many years I have. I'm simply not going to do that. They said, well, wouldn't that be something that a head coaching candidate might want to know? And he responded back by saying, hey, if they bring it up, then he will address it then. So it makes sense. Like, he's not going to say anything during this interview, right? If he's directly asked about it, he's not going to say, yes, I got an extension, especially since they've always been so close to the vest about how many years they have, their salary is, all those other pieces. It's very close to the vest. They're not going to be disclosing that information to many people. So hearing that really didn't surprise me all that much. But also another question that he was asked was about trying to search for a new head coach. Would they consider trading for a coach? And he said, yeah, we would consider using draft capital to potentially acquire a coach, if it's the right coach. Now, when you hear him say it, to me, it just seemed like he was just kind of giving almost like a non-answer where he's like, yeah, we would trade draft assets if it's the right, person for us to potentially get. Like, it's not going to be out of the question, but it's still in question. Does it mean that they're going to do it? Probably not. But it just means that, hey, it's still at least out there. And there's been reports that some teams have actually reached out about Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings head coach, because he's going to be, after this year, I think it's one more year left on his deal, which is kind of hard to believe. But that's one of the people that people are saying, hey, do you want to trade him? Do you want something like that? Because, hey, we already saw that the Bears were going after Mike McCarthy already. So maybe they do want an existing head coach if they can. So I think it's everything goes for Ryan Poles out here. But his search committee, he disclosed who is going to be on the next head coaching search committee as of right now. This guy up here, Mr. George McCaskey, is on that list. So Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, George McCaskey, all the people you kind of expect. Now, I saw on Twitter, not a lot of people expected George McCaskey to be out there because he's talked about how he's not going to be involved with any of the interviews. Now, I want to just bring this up. So if you are someone of importance at a company, like if you're interviewing for a VP job, if you're interviewing for an executive level job, you're going to see or probably meet the owner of the company, the CEO of the company, because that is very important. You have a very important job. That is what I'm hoping George is at this table, right? You expect the head coach of your organization to meet the owner, to talk to the owner. Do I think George is going to be running the interviews and being in charge of the interviews? God, I hope not. I really hope not. But that's why I think that why he's on the committee is more so as someone who's sitting in and, greeting and saying hi. But I'm really hoping that he's not actually someone that is running it. That's my belief. That's what I think a smart person would do. You have the owner that just says hi, and that's about it, right? You say hi, you talk to them, but let the adults in the room handle the hiring of the head coach. So that's what I'm thinking. But also, if you look at the other people on this search committee, Matt Feinstein, the director of football and administration for the Bears, Jeff King, the director of player personnel for the Bears, and also Liz Geist, the EVP, the executive vice president of HR. So I don't know how many HR people are in there, but after the whole Alan Williams fiasco, maybe they want someone at least there because, like Ben Johnson said, if there's something that someone has failed at in their past, he wants to at least get more clarity on what is going on. So maybe that's why they want Liz to be out there too. I've also heard that they had their COO, who I actually don't have their name listed. I've heard some people say that she's going to be involved. They're also the head of finding the next stadium. So I don't know if it's official or not, but that is something just to look out for those interested. So some of you might have thought, hey, there's a certain name that is missing. And also, if you've already listened to other shows, you might be saying, hey, there's a certain name that isn't out there on the list. And that is one Ian Cunningham, somebody that we have talked about for the past couple shows, because I've already was kind of saying like, hey, it seems like this would be a good opportunity with the Bears potentially with the Bears getting a new head coach for someone like an Ian Cunningham to say, hey, let me try something new and let me get that GM job. Now, the reason that it's interesting is Ian Cunningham is not on that list. And when asked about that, Ryan Poles stated that, hey, Ian Cunningham, they're essentially letting him look for a GM job. So if he really wants to get it, now is the time for him to try and get that GM job. And what do you know? The Titans, their job just magically opened up. So the Titans now have a job opening for a GM for someone to use the number 1 pick in the draft. I can't think of anyone more qualified than Ian Cunningham, someone who's been in this position twice to help out a fellow GM with the pressure of having the number 1 pick. Ian Cunningham is very highly regarded across the league, and it just feels like that should be his job with the Titans, potentially them getting Shedeur Sanders and having all that publicity with them too. I think Cunningham would be a great addition for them. And also, if that ends up happening, the Bears also get 2 third-round picks as compensatory picks if that ends up happening. So a little added bonus for the Bears as well. Makes it a little sweeter when we get our new head coach. But Ian Cunningham, yeah, definitely look for his name being tossed around there a little bit, especially with Ryan Poles saying publicly that Ian Cunningham can start searching for GM jobs if one comes up. So look for that Titans GM job. It seems like he's probably the favorite for that. I haven't looked at any odds out there since it's brand spanking new, but look for Ian Cunningham to potentially have interest in that Titans job. So now let's flip over to the interviews. So enough about this GM talk. The Bears are going to be interviewing multiple coaches this week, starting with actually Mike Vrabel this Wednesday. Tomorrow, the Bears will interview Mike Vrabel, and then on Thursday, they will interview Pete Carroll. So that's right, Pete Carroll is a new addition to our list. New additions are in yellow for those that are looking. So Pete Carroll, new addition, going to be interviewed on Thursday. We've already heard rumors that Pete Carroll has a lot of interest in this job. And do you have interest in Pete Carroll? That's what I'm asking you, the fans out there on YouTube, because Pete Carroll, to me, good coach. You know, he was always this plus coach that can bring everybody together. And he was so good that he allowed Shane Waldron not to absolutely destroy the offense. So that's how good of a people leader he is. Now, the only thing that I have an issue with is he is old. And I don't want to be an ageist here, but he's old. He's in his mid 70s, thought I saw 74. He's up there. He's in his 70s. You don't know how much longer he is going to be coaching. And for the Bears, you probably want someone that is here long term or has a vision. The first thing that I'm asking is hey, Pete, I know you love the game, but if you were to leave, what's your plan, right? We need a successor, idea of here, I'll come in. Here's the person that I will groom, kind of like what happened in the Patriots situation with Gerard Mayo. That didn't work, unfortunately. But with Pete Carroll, he's very good coach, but I don't know. I still like the other people that are out there a little bit more. But also, too, some people that will also be getting interviews this week, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Yet again, those virtual interviews, not sure what days. But hey, if you're looking at this, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Pete Carroll, and Mike Vrabel getting interviews this week, that's good. Don't mind that at all. So far, really like that at least. But then also the other new addition to this list, Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. He's been a hot name. He kind of shot up the ranks he was the LSU passing game coordinator, then goes over to the Panthers. Things don't really go well over there with Matt Rule, and kind of goes over then to the Bills and slowly starts making his way up. But ever since he's taken over for Ken Dorsey in Buffalo, this offense has been looking very good. And you look at EPA per play, they're the number 3 offense in EPA per play. So I really like the Bears at least bringing in Joe Brady for interviews. But now this list is up to 14 people. Bears have the largest list that's out there. So a little crazy. But also, we at least subtracted one name today, and that was Mike McCarthy. Thank God. The Cowboys did not allow the Bears to interview Mike McCarthy. So we can all celebrate. We can take a deep breath. And we don't have Mike McCarthy interviewing for the Chicago Bears job. So now, when we look at this coaching list, it's big. It's like what we talked about. The Bears want to make sure that no stone is left unturned, that they cover all their bases and bring everybody in. As at least some of the best coaches are coming in early, right? And you had all this time to kind of prepare for what coaches you want to have in. So hopefully they at least have a mental model of like, hopefully it doesn't actually look like this graphic that I have where it's 14 coaches and they're like, all right, here's all 14, right? Who are the true people that they want to actually have interviews with, that they think that who's at the top of the list? And that's where I really am hoping that it is Ben Johnson, that it is Aaron Glenn and Pete Carroll and Mike Vrabel, like coaches like that you go, okay, this could potentially be something. This could potentially be someone like even like a Brian Flores. Can't really talk to him yet because the Vikings are in the playoffs, but at least they're getting these interviews out there and hopefully still Ben Johnson can potentially be that guy that they need. The other piece that I want to bring up too is just EPA per play for some of these play callers, because I just thought it was a little interesting because Todd Monken, when you look at just EPA per play, Todd Monken with the Ravens, they're number 1 EPA per play. Detroit is number 2 with Ben Johnson. Then Bills with Joe Brady is number 3. And then if you look at 4 and 5, it's Cliff Kingsbury and also Liam Cohen. And I think a lot of us Bears fans are saying, where's Liam Cohen? And where's Cliff Kingsbury? Well, something that I just want to bring up is that the Bears already interviewed them last year for their offensive coordinator position. So they might feel like they already have a good idea of who that person is. Maybe they think that they're not interested in the job, because they didn't hire them as the OC. So that might be some of the reasons why they're not bringing those candidates in because, hey, they already know who they are. And maybe they don't like us or maybe they do like us. So yeah, those were 2 people that yet again have led some amazing offenses that are just simply not on the list. But then next, Cardinals number 8. So Drew Petzing, even though we don't know who he is, he has done something with the Arizona offense. And then you look at it too. Cowboys are number 27 in EPA per play, and the Giants, so Mike Kafka's offense, number 29. So still don't understand the whole Mike Kafka thing, and if you look at defense, just for those that are curious, Broncos are actually number 1 with Vance Joseph. Vikings are 3 with Brian Flores. Lions are 7 with Aaron Glenn, and Dolphins are 9 with Anthony Weaver. So what does that mean? It means we're going to get Mike Kafka and Anthony Weaver, right? That's what it means. So hopefully not actually. But that about does it for our Bears show today. So if you're out there, make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. Hit the notification bell because tomorrow we will be doing our award show. It's just a load of fun. Just all of us like out in the chat, just saying who we think. Who's our favorite offensive player? Who's our favorite defensive player? Who was the most disappointing player that's out there? That one is going to be, unfortunately, pretty fun. We can't do coaches, though, for that. So hope to see you all out there. And if you're out there in podcast land, make sure to rate 5 stars. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and you know that she's a bride.